Hello everyone and welcome to my video on parsimony. The last time I recorded this it was 7 minutes, so I'm going to try to speed it up this time. So what made me decide to pick this topic was when Dr. B sent out the syllabus prior to the start of the semester or the quarter. I thought it was a super cool word, and it wasn't anything that I had any experience with since undergrad, which was about, I don't know, 20 years ago. So I wanted to get into this a little bit, and I also thought it would help with my work and corrections. So, parsimony is the practical ruling out of simple logical explanations experimentally or conceptually before considering more complex or abstract explanations. So, it's one of the philosophical assumptions of applied behavior analysis. So, when there are multiple explanations for a phenomenon, the simplest explanation should be accepted as truth or reason. I always say, why overcomplicate things? So, when it comes to ABA, we accept simpler explanations until they're proven false. Here's the history of parsimony. You can read that, pause this video, and read it at your own pace so that I don't go over 3 minutes. So let's get on to some examples of parsimony. So we have a child who gets home from school and is required to go straight into his homework. As a result, he goes into the bathroom and spends a lot of time in the bathroom. So we can assume that a kid's just spent their entire day at school. So they've been doing work all day, and there's escape avoidance behavior. So we need to realize that maybe giving Mark a little break between his tasks may be, the first step in understanding this type of behavior. We don't want to assume it's more than that, that he has problems with going to the bathroom. He may not have that problem. He may just want a little bit of a break before he goes on to his next task. In this next example, we have a mod. He goes to an ADT program. They offer tons of different types of therapies there. So during his day, he goes from one therapy to the next. So he goes from speech to OT, and it's around lunchtime. When he does that, he usually has some self-injurious behavior. So a parsimonious approach would say, there's two possible explanations. Maybe he could use a break between the sessions, or due to the time of day, maybe he needs a light snack at that time. So we could work on both. First, maybe try to give him a break before he goes on to the OT and see if that helps this self-injurious behavior, or we could then offer a light snack. So we would want to rule out that it's either of those two things before we go on to seeking a more complex explanation. So finally, Kimberly lives in a residential setting with other acquired brain injury clients. As a result, they have a community area in which they all go smoke. When others come out and smoke, he cusses at them and he leaves and goes to his room. So we could say maybe he doesn't like smoke. So we come up with some solutions for that. So maybe we have separate smoking and non-smoking time, or maybe he has a separate area in which he doesn't smoke. So if we were to implement that and he stops cussing at his roommates, then, we know that a parsimonious approach would say, it was just that he doesn't like the smell of cigarette smoke. So we're not jumping to conclusions, making things overcomplicated or complex. I wanted to do this real quick. Originally, I wanted to pick pragmatism because when I went to Boston last year, I was just walking through a cemetery looking for a specific grave when I stumbled upon this little section, and I was shocked. I accidentally stumbled upon the grave of William James, considered the father of American psychology and one of the founders of pragmatism. So originally I wanted to pick him for my presentation, but I know Dr. B likes some of the historical context of our field, so I just wanted to share that with the group. And here's the references.